Hi there, knife people. Hello, lady and gentlemen. Tonight we are finally going to talk about Benchmade Bugout versus Ozark Trail No Name. I call it Fake Out, or sometimes I call it an Orkin Man because, according to all other channels, it's clearly a Bugout killer. That said, I honestly avoided looking at any reviews, any and all reviews. There are like dozens of reviews on YouTube right now showing this knife. Reason is, it's cheap. Any beginner reviewer, just like an experienced reviewer, can go grab it for 10 bucks, play with it, review it, and if they don't like it, even return it. There's a slew of information, and I wasn't paying much attention until I saw one single video today. Actually, today I watched the NAF's video where they have this knife on the thumbnail, and I decided to watch them because probably becoming quickly one of my favorite channels. So I highly recommend check NAF's out. So I watched their video and I was shocked. So usually they're fair and balanced, but I thought they were giving a lot of hard time to this knife. So because I've been already testing this knife and posting 30 to 40-second videos on Instagram. Oh yeah, I have an Instagram account now. It's called @CBRX_today. And so in this video, I'm going to combine those little shorts into a first segment. And then after that is done, I'm going to do some serious testing, very sort of balanced, fair, and very objective. Even though I'm an avid Benchmade collector, I welcome any and all entries into the world of knives, and then I test things that pick my attention and form my own opinion. And I'll start talking about this knife by saying that comparing it to a Bugout, it's just a very superficial thing because yes, size and looks are very similar, but structurally these two knives are completely different because Bugout has a halfway liner, so the liners end around here, and then internally it relies on a substructure molded into this grivery plastic that creates enough rigidity for this knife to be pretty heavy duty for its size. This knife is more akin to the very first crossbar lock ever made on this planet in the mass production environment. It's McHenry & Williams 710, and this is a time capsule copy of one from around 2011, 2012, and it's unused and unmodified, just basically in a factory new condition. But the reason I brought it out, I wanted to show you that this has full liners, and those liners have round holes. You can't see it here, but they have round holes inside that make it just a little lighter. So from sort of user case, these two knives are closer in their niche to each other than this knife or this knife to the Bugout. Weeds, semantics, let's watch those shorts and then I'll jump right in. 5 key similarities between Benchmade Bugout and Walmart's Ozark Trail. Both handles are 4¼ inches long. Both blades are 3¼ inches long, measured from the edge of the handle. Both blades have a drop point shape with a spear tip and a swedge. Both knives are operated by a crossbar lock. 5 key dissimilarities between Benchmade Bugout and Ozark Trail Fake Out. The Bugout's blade is made out of CPM S30V Super Steel. Ozark Trail Fake Out has a blade made out of generic tool steel called D2. The Bugout uses bronze washers, and the Fake Out uses steel ball nylon cage bearings. The washers provide better reliability. The bearings faster action. The blade on a Bugout has a flat grind, while the blade on the Fake Out has hollow grind. This facilitates strength, this facilitates cutting ability. The Bugout uses half liners to facilitate lighter weight, and the Fake Out uses full liners to facilitate strength. And I even did the hardness tests on both blades using my Lee hardness tester. I'm showing them side by side so that you can go back and revisit this segment. And the key takeaway here, looking at the average hardnesses, both manufacturers chose toughness over edge retention, I guess to make it a more warranty-friendly product. Both are in okay hardness range, and the companies mitigate the risk of snapping. Next, I'm setting up the Bugout in my Hype Smasher machine, which is a modified arbor press that exerts a drop force of 80 pounds of force, not weight, because it only weighs 2.5 pounds. Anyway, exerts 80 pounds of force, which is a realistic human producible backstrike force onto the spine of the blade. It is set up to produce 200 to 200 inch-pounds of torque onto the pivot to keep things consistent from knife to knife. And I strike the spine 3 times unless the knife fails before. The knife is clamped between rigid but rubber-bound elements, imitating a human grip quite closely, in my opinion. And I always check for function and blade play after the series of strikes. No issues whatsoever with the Bugout. Only one crossbar lock ever failed this test, and that was on Microtech MSI, the very early version, which they later modified. You can find several videos showing that failure and their fix on my channel. As you have noticed, I am setting up the Orkin Man Ozark Trail fake out on the machine now. Oh, and I always check the log for function before I strike the knife, because I want to make sure it functions as if it was held in your hand. In other words, I'm making sure my clamp does not obstruct the function of the lock. I place a small bumper on the spine of the blade, because in the real world you will not be cutting wood and then striking concrete or metal. The setup is now ready. Let's go. And by the way, this ram reaches velocity of 3.2 to 4 miles per hour. You see the handle change to red. This is a brand new, recently out the box, 4th of July exclusive from Shields Sporting Goods store. Basic Bugout, but with red handle and S30V blade, just like the original. This has not been resharpened. You're looking at the factory edge, as well as on the Ozark Trail fake out. By the way, don't be offended by me calling it fake out. Ozark Trail doesn't name their knives. They don't have a commercial name for this knife. Until they come out with one, maybe like Insect or something like that. I think it'd be a good name. If you laugh at my jokes, you're automatically my friend, so that you know. Let's just say those are 2 factory edges, and we're gonna compare them side by side using this microscope and my iPad. Let me put this away. First, under the microscope is a factory new Bugout. And as you can see, the edge is pretty consistent, but it's also pretty rough. I estimate no more than 300 grit media was used to sharpen it. And there's no evidence of stropping. And here's the fake out, a knife that has been sharpened in China by somebody who makes probably $10 a week. And you can see the difference. Maybe I'll show them side by side so the difference becomes even more obvious. Sorry about fiddling here. Anyway, here you go. On the right is the Bugout, on the left is Ozark Trail. I estimate 550 grit on this one. And to get this kind of edge on a Benchmade, you need to buy a knife with a select edge, like this tagged out Hunt Series knife. These are sharpened with what I estimate to be 600 plus grit size media, and then stropped. They're not exactly mirror polished, but they appear shiny under the light. In general, Hunt Series knives by Benchmade are of superior quality. It almost seems to me that people that make those are the same folks that make custom Gold Class Series knives. Let me get that Bugout into the shot for comparison. And here you will see what your money buys or doesn't buy with Benchmade. So the Hunt Series tugged out is on the left. And you can see how different the select edge is from their standard edge. Different media, and clearly the convexity on the left shows that there's some stropping involved. Feel free to let me and Benchmade know in the comments how you feel about this. Next, edge retention demonstration. So for the factory edges, if it cuts newspaper type sheets, then it's a good sharpen. And the bug out gave me a long, continuous, and pretty straight cut. Let's see how the Ozark Trail does. That actually felt just a hair smoother. It's a very subjective demonstration, though. But, you know, they're within an inch from one another. So now we're going to dull the edge to some extent by dragging the edge on a deer antler. And while I'm counting down the 20 passes, I would like to thank everyone who subscribed to my channel. We're pushing past 10,000. Thank you. You're awesome. That's 20 times. We'll test it on the paper. And now this guy. I keep my channel unaffiliated with any knife maker or retailer. So any revenue for the channel comes from your subscription and viewing my videos. Nor do I post links to knives on Amazon. 20 times? Oh yeah. Subjectively, neither one dulls too much, but let's see now with the newspaper. Bug out first. It still gets in a little bit harder than initially, but it still gets in. And this guy, I think this guy is actually still a little better. And by a little, I mean a lot. And that's the point. So the point of S30V was to create a steel that is equivalent in edge retention or hardenability to D2. That was the whole purpose of this steel coming to existence, so that they can start to use stainless steel on knife versus non-stainless steel. So they should be performing about the same, except this one is heat treated to sort of the perfect range. And I have to check, but I believe the S30V could be a little bit harder. Let's take a look under the microscope next. Okay, what I see is a little bit more of a radius at the apex. See this dark line? It's a radius. Let's see how it looks from the opposite. Yeah, so it's forming a nice symmetrical radius. That is actually good news, because I was afraid that fibers, deer antler is a tough material to cut through because it has very hard elements containing carbon, and also has a lot of protein with high viscosity. So it's an ideal media to grab any chip and burr and propagate any crack. So I'm impressed that this edge looks the way it does. Now, obviously, if I continue to like 50, maybe I'd see more damage. But realistically, who is going to put a knife to 50 passes on a staghorn? Let's see how this Ozark Trail did. Okay, I'll have to clean it off as well. Okay, so here I see what D2 is kind of famous for. See the chip? I'm putting it roughly in the middle of the screen. That's either a chip or a roll. Looks like it has thickness, so it's more of a roll. So we rolled the edge over. Let's look at the next one. There's another one. Let me position it so you can see it in the middle of the screen right there. Definitely not a chip. It's definitely a roll. Now this one is from the opposite side, so you're seeing the shiny side of it. So see the difference? When you look at these as many times a week as I do, whenever I sharpen, I try to use my microscope to see what I'm doing. Anyway, you start, see clearly a roll. So to fix the roll, all we'll have to do is strop it. All right, we got to this point, and so far, other than the price and the weight, and by the way, this weighs 2.84 ounces and this weighs 1.88 ounces. So there's like almost an ounce difference in weight, but still under 4 ounces, so it's considered to be a lightweight knife, especially considering an over 3-inch blade size. So far, there is no differentiator that I could say, aha, see, you should have spent 16 times more. There's no aha moment yet. And that means there's only one thing left to do, and that is a tree of doom. So let me hit the brakes here. Those of you who are subscribers on Instagram, all 27 or so of you, you probably already seen the clip that shows what happens with this knife. Please don't spoil the surprise for anybody. Now, if you wonder what I'm talking about, this is my Instagram at cbrx underscore today. And I try to post very short clips daily to see what happens. It's an experiment. There's a twofold reason to do these demonstrations. I test the lock resilience and tip strength. Those properties are important to me because I never know what I'm going to put my knives through on a daily basis. I strike this dead oak tree 25 times with a blade, and then I pry blade left to right or right to left, and most blades make it through, but this one didn't. I really envy YouTubers who can go into their studio and crank out a video in like 30 minutes without any editing and just post online and move on with their life. My videos take me roughly a week to develop. I work several in parallel, starting on one while I'm in the middle on the other and finishing the third, and that's how it rolls. But there's a lot of effort that goes into it, so I really appreciate when you guys watch the entire thing without skipping. So now I can show you that this broke, and the main reason for the fact that it broke is not the D2, because it's not overly treated or not actually treated into the region where it's brittle like glass. It's pretty well heat treated, actually sustained 12 strikes, which cheaper D2 on some of the other knives that I tested, most of like RPM 9 blades or inexpensive brand from China D2, they break between second and eighth strike. So when I got through 10, I was sighing with relief. Unfortunately, broke on the 12th strike. So the reason for that is hollow grind. Hollow grind is kind of weak because there's a lot of material removed from the blade, and when the stress from whatever you do travels through the metal, it kind of bunches up, kind of creates hot spots in these areas where there's less material. Kind of intuitively makes sense, I hope. Now, when they design knives that are supposed to withstand a lot of frontal stress or lateral stress, they design something that looks like this. The reason I brought it up, I wanted to show you when engineers were considering the stresses that this knife should be sustaining or withstanding or standing up to. They designed this tip with a lot of care and a lot of thought put into it. I actually reviewed the military standard for this knife. Yes, it exists. And you can pull it offline. It's not a secret. And the engineering drawing for it spends a lot of time defining this tip. And mainly they want this line. I hope you can see it dark on dark. See this wedge line swooping in, and then the primary grind. So here's your swedge line swooping in, and then the top of the primary grind. They kind of converge together and they form this ridge. And that ridge, that's what makes this tip so strong. Think of this line as a ridge on a construction helmet, or smaller ridges on the firefighter helmets. That's what they're for. They dissipate the stress. And so when for decorative purposes they did not bring the swedge line right to the tip, look at your Ozark Trail right now, and you will see that the lines don't converge. And that's what weakens the tip. Enough about that. Let's watch this segment about the bug out. And I have to tell you that after it, I'm going to share something shocking yet funny with you. So please stay tuned. That was 25 strikes. Usually I stop right here, but somebody asked me if I will get same money's worth from this knife as I got out of the Ozark Trail. I paid $10, I got about 10 good strikes, already at 25, and I paid 110 bucks for this one. Let's try it out. Apologies for the noisy background. There are helicopters, traffic, and so forth. I'm in an urban park setting. And I sped it up because here I'm going for, that's 25 more, 50. Sorry about all the background noise. There are helicopters in the area. Well, the wood condition is varied. So there are some rains, and partially some of the wood is soft, and you see me sinking the knife in pretty deep. And in other parts, it's hard and incompressible because of saturated water. That was 50. I did not count some of the soft strikes. 10 more. And that's the difference between CPM or particle metallurgy steel and basic ingot D2. There you go. A slight play opened up. Just side to side, nothing up and down. Nope. So another day have passed, and now I'm filming the final talking segment. Anyway, one of the comments I got on the Instagram after I posted the video of me breaking the tip on the Ozark Trail was, I guess you got 10 strikes for your $10. Well, actually I got 12 strikes, but if you count the taxes and the gasoline I spent to procure this knife, it comes close to 12 bucks. So 12 for 12. And that gave me an idea, so thank you very much for giving me this idea. I gave me an idea to strike the bug out as many times as many dollars I spend on it. I got that knife for $109, including taxes. And that's where I went for 110, to round it off. So what is the big revelation and confession? Much like when I was trying to film me breaking the Omnizom tip, well, my camera wasn't on then. First time I tried to film the bug out, my camera was not on either. So I ended up striking it 220 times. And I don't have much proof, so feel free to not believe me. But for one thing, I thought I was filming, so I hit this stop recording button on my remote control on my watch, where in reality, I was actually hitting a record button. So my reaction to my discovery of not filming this 110 strikes is well documented. Watch it. Ha! Mother.